Welcome, Wilmaine. Welcome, Tommy. I am happy to moderate this discussion regarding the impacts of the COVID-19 on the ultra-luxury and luxury hotel development trends. And I would like first to introduce you briefly. Wilmaine, you are spearheading the development for IHG in Europe. Correct me if I'm. And Tommy, you are heading and focusing on developing your landmark brand, the Chedi, globally, I think, and which is a effort to spread the brand now globally. And the brand, for those who are familiar with the Chedi, is well known and is a very landmark product.
Thank you.
But now is in several locations, including Switzerland and many developments in China, I understand also.
Yeah.
But personally, I would like to start just by setting the scene and perhaps challenging you by some facts which I have extracted from the Parisian market when it comes to ultra-luxury hotels through the COVID-19 situation that is ongoing today. What I've noted is that we have several hotels that opened in Paris in July, in June, let's say. Some of them started opening earlier in May. Some of them didn't even close, but few, very few of them. But the ultra-luxury hotels remain until further notice. Many of them announced opening in end of August or September, and some others didn't even announce an opening. Why? Because they know they are waiting to see how international travel will kick back again and will start again, because they are depending on international travel. On the second hand, we have seen resort ultra-luxury hotels in France, like in Saint-Tropez, being extremely active starting the months of June for the reason that people decided not to travel abroad and looked for resort areas within Europe and within France, and European clients and French clients came to those destinations, and they are doing a very good year, extremely good year, or not year, season, let's say specifically, because these are seasonal hotels. So in this situation, we have the client factor that we need to look at, and I invite you to look at in your development strategies and comment on that. And we have also the operational factors that are very important for us to discuss. What is the impact of the COVID-19 on your development pipeline and on your operations? This would be my first questions to Wilmaine for you to.
Sorry, I think the recording, the internet froze for a little while. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, it was just frozen for a bit, but thank you.
Did you hear my question?
Yeah, I think I did. So thank you for introduction, Gabrielle. And maybe just before we go into the topic, let me just very briefly say a few words about IHG as well. We're obviously a global hospitality company, mainly on the franchise and management front, although we still have some owned hotels as well and some leases, but mainly focusing on franchise and management. We have 16 brands, of which currently 10 are available in Europe. About 70% of our business is mainstream and 30% of our business is upscale and luxury. So given the topic of the session today, I'm not going to talk only about the luxury brands, obviously. I'm not going to mention too much Holiday Inn, Holiday Inn Express, and Voco and the likes, which I think the audience is probably familiar with. Our most, let's say, well-known luxury brand is obviously Intercontinental. The brand has been around for more than 70 years, and it's currently the largest global luxury brand with 200 hotels. And we still continue, and we love Intercontinental. I mean, it's in the name of our company, so we continue to develop that brand very actively. But we have also rounded out our brand portfolio, as you said earlier on. We started acquiring some additional brands to really round out our brand portfolio on the luxury and ultra luxury space. So we now also have a brand called Kimpton, which we acquired in 2014. Initially founded in the US in the 80s, it's much more a luxury boutique brand, very focused on single experiences, quite design driven and really unique properties. And more recently, we acquired the Regent brand, which is a very long-standing already traditional luxury brand that we're really rebuilding it, so to say, and we have a strong vision for Regent. We invested about 15 million in revamping the brand and want to continue to grow that one globally as well. And then Six Senses. So Six Senses we acquired in 2019. It's a beautiful brand, as you all know. Focused on wellness, sustainability, well-being. So with that, I think we have a good portfolio of luxury, ultra luxury brands to play both in the urban space and in the resort space. And obviously Six Senses is bringing us a lot of this experience from resort and spa experience as well. So those are our brands. You asked about sort of development strategy. Obviously the rules of the game have completely changed in the last 6 months, but we still see a strong appetite to grow luxury brands and luxury hotels. Strangely enough, very few of the projects we were working on were actually canceled. Very, very few. Not to say, it's difficult to foresee and to forecast what's going to happen, but obviously some have been postponed, but there's still a lot of activity. We have signed new deals. We signed an Intercontinental in Rome. We signed a Six Senses in Italy as well. We opened a Kimpton in Barcelona. So there is activity in that space, and we really see opportunity to continue to grow our brands, because I also do believe that at some point people will want to travel again. It's sort of the need of people to travel, to meet, but also on the leisure side, to go and enjoy beautiful spaces and beautiful resorts. So we do believe that despite the very difficult situation that the industry is going through, at some point this will recover and will come back, and it may take time. But so our strategy, our development in Europe is very much focused on the one side on urban, but also to diversify into resorts more and more, which is not something we had done so much historically. But now the fact that we have multiple brands, this allows us to also grow more in that space.
Thank you, Maybe
I'll pause there and then we can continue the conversation.
Yes, I will come back to, with some questions for you. Tommy, could you please just quickly present?
Oh, yes, yes.
Your company and the CEDI to those who, the few that might not be aware of it. And of course, tell us about your development strategy, and maybe touch as of now on the COVID-19, what you see is impacting your business model.
Sure. Well, I guess ours is a little bit simpler compared to IHG. we are currently from GHM. My name's Tommy, and we have one core brand, and that's the CEDI. And we only focus on Ultralux, and we only focus on one brand at this moment. We operate on this particular space for the last 29 years. We operate in a model where we don't extend ourselves too far, as in we don't do too many projects a year. We focus on location and try to create iconic projects as we go along. over the last 29 years, we have created many iconic projects that are still standing today. We do a lot of standalone brands too for our client, and those standalone brands are created for reasons, for the family reasons, or for a remembrance for a certain location. So we are in that space. So make it very simply, we are focused on the cherry, which is well known in Switzerland, in Europe, and also in the Middle East. Our expansion plan is global. We look for locations that are very unique in nature, and also with owners that have a vision in mind of creating something very special to their heart, and also to create something that will bring something special to the industry. So this is our motto, a style to remember. So for the COVID-19, I like to extend on that point where Gabriel had talked about like what happens to the market with some of the urban hotels that are critically now shortage of business, plus resort, we have a very strong domestic travelers and having a boom. Well, we do face the same issue here. We have one hotel, which is still, I think, #1 in Switzerland for the resort scheme, and also #1 in the GM, John Yee, the GM that operates the hotels there, that have fantastic occupancy and rates during this period of time. It is a resort in the mountains, Andermatt, the Cherry Andermatt. Fantastic location, and we see there's a pent-up demand immediately after reopening, and it's a V-shape. It's a V-shaped recovery that we see for that particular market. And same time last year, we have increase in occupancy and increase in rates, and that is phenomenal for during this period of time. It is not a skiing season. This is the Alps, supposed to be a skiing resort. So, but we also have another property that's still open. I mean, it continues to open even during the lockdown period in the Middle East. And that relies a lot on international travels. So prior to this particular session, we're having a lot of discussion on this particular topic, whether the business will be refocused on domestic travelers internally or the death of international travelers. And this is a very big topic to talk about. I have different views with some of our panelists here, but I think we're all good in the sense that we can see that the market sometimes depends on domestic during the difficult times, but international travelers are still critically required for key markets and key cities, Paris, Rome, in Europe, London, then for Asian market, Tokyo, and Singapore, Hong Kong, an island resort, Maldives, the Caribbean. All this requires international travelers. You couldn't expect the occupancy to fill up with locals because there's not enough locals to go around the number of rooms that they have. So I do believe strongly that during this period of time, yes, local market is the most important source of income for us and for the industry. But unfortunately, there's a segment of market which requires the airlift to be open, and that has a critical impact on what is the future looks like.
It seems like traditional competitive sets will no longer be valid because each hotel will have his own challenges based on the potential of the market and on his product. That means you might have two hotels, let's say, again, in the city hotel, one of them being a convention hotel that is today still closed, and the other one, which is the hotel, that is more oriented or local business, independent business, or more leisure oriented, that is open and thriving properly because of the shortage of supply. So it is becoming a challenge to traditional comp sets where it's no longer about the market, it's about the product itself and how you fine tune your segmentation and you react to the COVID to attract specific segments. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think the whole with the COVID, Gabriel, I think the whole way of how you market your property had completely changed, right? Our whole sales and marketing organization has completely changed, I think. Whereas before, mainly the hotels were reliant on international travel. Today you can't. That's a fact, and it's not going to change anytime soon. So all the hoteliers, we had to rethink completely the way how we sell. And it's absolutely right. It starts with local, regional, then it hopefully sort of European for as long as the airlifts are there and you can travel. And this may change over time. And then at some point international again, we may hope. So what we have observed at least, and what we have also actively promoted and helped our owners with, is to completely rechange the whole organization and to do much more local marketing campaigns, adapt all the ways how we work with our loyalty program to target exactly those clients where they want to travel. We can see from the travel trends and from you can sort of have all the statistics about where people's interests lie, and to target those people to fill the hotels and to travel for them to travel to those hotels. And at the moment, that is indeed more local, more leisure oriented. It's also summer season, so probably from September, October, that may change again. And we need to remain extremely flexible, agile, and adjust and grab the business where we can grab the business. But yes, it's a very different way of working than before, clearly.
And Tommy, you wanted to comment, I think, also on this?
Yes, correct. I guess the segmentization has always been flexible and fluid, depending on season to seasons. But we are fortunate because functioning in just ultra lux space, we have that ability to house people in good space, I would say, in adopting new policies that has been implemented by local authorities. The very first worry that I had a couple of months back on the reopening of some of our hotels was the local authorities having a knee-jerk effect on the requirements on reopening. Well, because nobody knows exactly how much going to impact on human to human transmission a couple of months back, and then they will wholesale a lot of precautionary measures, and I'm talking about really a laundry list of things to do in order just to open. But very fortunately, because our hotels are in a good space, and being an ultra lux space, we are able to use those space in good stance. Social distancing is not a major issue for us. And also the space between rooms and the number of rooms that we have usually are not beyond the couple hundreds level. We are always at 100 levels. So the people feel very comfortable, and that gives them an immediate trust in the system. And trust is what we need now in today's world. Nobody trusts anybody, and that's the problem. We need to build trust, and how to have that trust is when you see things happen and how we can manage those procedure in good stance. That trust has been built over the years, and now they see it for themselves that we are doing it in the proper way. So I guess the all comparables and stuff like that, we usually use it as a guide, but we never use it as a golden rule of compare, because my motto to my GM is to be the leading rates of the hotels in that location within the comparable table, you know. So we want to drive the market rather than we follow the market. So that is the motto of the company. So we feel that during this period of time, there's a lot of pent-up demand for product that can provide them with a lot of confidence that they are saved. But we can't be 100% sure, but at least the trust have to be built over the years. And we have those customers that's been with us for a long time.
Well, thank you, Tommy, for this insight regarding the social distancing. You have touched on the social distancing issue. It is very lucky when you have a generous resort and generous spaces, and you can build trust by using the space available. that you have by implementing all what makes the guest feel safe and build trust by doing this. But my question is to both of you. I think that you might, Tommy, also be touching on urban locations. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that you are targeting some dense areas in China, but not sure that you are putting your feet in big cities yet. Yeah, but what is the impact of COVID-19 on the development itself, the product itself, the F&B mainly? My concern is the concern of a owner, let's say. Okay, should I double the size of public area to have same level of service as you mentioned, Bilman? Ultra-luxury also, and we all agree, it's about client experience. We will not be able to cut down on the services. We will have to deliver them, but in a different manner, and probably could be on a different cost. So the floor is open. Just maybe if you can both touch on this topic, social distancing and the impact on your development. We have still around 10 minutes.
Well, I guess it's a very interesting question because it actually reset a lot of the former financial models that we used to put in for investment. Investors tend to look into what's the return on investment per square meter of space. And that cuts across all asset class, from industrial all the way to hotel. In between, we have commercials and retail. Pandemic, like in this scale, had reset most of the investment model. Thus, when you mention whether F&B space have to be bigger, then we have to look into the retail space and retail F&B in a shopping mall. Would they be charging double, or would they be charging half? Because they only sit half now. So what holds in this business model? What holds in the future business model of all this real estate is a question mark that we are looking at. Likewise, if you ask me currently, what holds for you in the sense of investors coming to invest in an ultra-lux product, and what kind of money are we talking about? Or are they increase of another 50% or 100%? It is hard to pinpoint at this point. The reason because there's no standard from any of the organizations that we have spoken to, or any of the jurisdictions that we are in, that give us a clear indication that your F&B space or per square meters, how many people have changed. What we call the loading. The loading of all space hasn't been changed, but it's a trust that we have to build with our clientele. So, having said that, we have to change the operation method. The modus operandi have to change, because if people say the depth of the buffet, and good thing is that we don't run so many buffet, because we do a lot more table-to-table serving and stuff like that. So that space alone doesn't change much for us, if you ask me, based on the ultra-lux investment model. In fact, we don't see at this moment of time a change in investment in value. Yes, at the operating level, at this current moment, yes, because we have to do more housekeeping. That's definite. We have to do more of a overall so-called monitoring of guests in terms of from one gate to the other gate, or so-called the zone, different zone of different cross-sectional of guest mingling. So those capex have been increased at the operation level, and also at the operational expense will have increased. But at this moment, the project that we see, the new project and the current project, we have not seen an increase in a dollar value per se. Of course, at this moment we can't tell, because like swimming pool, is there a standard for swimming pool during this pandemic? the pool are closed actually. So when it opens, does it have a standard on it? Not really. The authorities hasn't kind of get their mind around it. But having said that, our property and our business model don't run at 90% cash flow. We always look at occupancies at about 70%. And that is Ultralux, because we have up and low seasons, and we run that model. So imagine our pool is actually not crowded. Actually, you have, like you mentioned, we are fortunate, we are blessed that during this period of time we have space. We have space to space everyone out, and that is the key at this moment for us.
I think that's exactly the point. Especially ultra luxury, but also luxury to a certain extent, you have this luxury of space, which is already pre-existing. And so this can be used during this COVID period and the challenges we face from an operational perspective. It becomes much harder in urban environments, I think, where there is a lot of pressure and the pressure was building already on the real estate and the real estate prices and getting a return on investment. And the trend that we started to see for a couple of years, where even in luxury, especially urban, room sizes were getting squeezed and smaller, and you could always sell it as, I don't know, you would call it like the urban cozy room or the quirky room, and would still get a very high ADR for that. Maybe for rooms it's still true, but for F&B and public spaces, that no longer is going to hold in the future. I think that will become much more challenging in an urban environment, where the real estate prices are still high. I totally agree with what Tommy said from an operational cost perspective. Obviously, at the moment, there's additional costs simply due to implementation of different sanitizer stations, people looking at guests, housekeeping, etc., etc. On the other hand, we try to alleviate that a little bit by also working on brand standards. At least what we do in IHG is, so during the pandemic, we have relieved a lot of the brand standards and taken away all the unnecessary stuff, which also helps in the housekeeping, but also creates some cost savings on the other side to try to balance as much as we can. I think there's one very important element that we're going to see in the future is technology, which was already developing fast, but this is going to be even more important. Things like mobile check-in, check-out, things like looking at menus on your mobile phone, although that was not something that was so developed in luxury, because you sort of like to touch a menu and you want to give the quality. This will become, just by the fact of the current sanitary situation, maybe more integrated into all our hotels globally as well. And people and guests actually request it because it makes them feel safer, because they don't need to touch and have the touch points with physical objects that much. So that's something we'll see continue, and we're focusing a lot of efforts on that as well, to make sure we use the technology in the best possible way, to continue to, give the guest a safe experience, make it as fluid as possible, and always with the human touch as well, because I think hospitality, it's still always about the smile and how you welcome the guests, and that's what we stand for in the end as an industry. So finding the right balance between all that will be the challenge for the future.
Yeah, I call my panelist view, because we are also starting to implement more of technology, which is tough to push last time. This pandemic actually allows a lot of people to accept technology quite readily. We have one urban resort actually in Sharjah, in the heart of Sharjah, called the Chedi Al Bayt, which is a fabulous property. You should go and take a look. It's right in the middle of urban area. So the design allowed us to segregate, because it's in all housing dwelling methods, where you can actually have a partition of blocks to blocks. So we can actually isolate different customers group together in one of those blocks. And we kind of adopt a technology to allow them to book on the gyms and stuff like that, because then we can stagger them to come in and out. And used to be like you have to go there and stuff. That now technology is so advanced now, and people are so ready to adopt that it is fabulous. And honestly, so that booking your yoga session, that you book your own gym session. So it is hard. I will say that in an urban setting, it's very hard to do a lot of good distancing. But nevertheless, it can be done because we have the hotels that has been doing it, and it maintained open even during the pandemic period. Is it doing fabulously well? Well, it's hard because it is a key city in UAE. But I think we are doing fabulously well comparatively to the rest of the hotel. Our rates are very high and our occupancies are very respectable at this moment. So I think it's still possible. So I guess it's not the death of the urban hotel, but it's a way of changing the modus operandi that you can readopt that kind of situation at this moment.
We maybe a few words on air sanitization. I don't think that this is a major issue in resorts where you have plenty of space and open air and all, but maybe in urban areas, do you feel or do you see that the clients or your general managers are pointing at safety measures when it comes to air sanitization and controlling the virus spreading through the AC systems and all of that? We have noted, I have noted from my travel in Asia that this air sanitization technology is widely spread in ultra-luxury hotels, urban hotels, in Shanghai, in Peking, or. But do you see that coming towards your geographic areas?
Well, I guess yes, we have hotels developed and now under development in China and parts of other parts of Asia and also Middle East, which we have very focused in Middle East these 2 years. Well, yeah, you mentioned of the cleaning of air. Actually, to be honest, I mean, the older hotels don't have that ability to filter out PM 2.5, but the improved models of all the air conditioning systems allowed you to insert certain kind of filters that can filter out those particles, and of course that is part and parcel of technology advancement, and increasingly that advancement I would see within the next not in years but rather within the next 6 months will have more improvement in terms of ultra rays that imputed into the main air handling unit to kind of kill off the viruses and bacteria. But is this the long-term plan? Is this the standard that all hotels will adopt? It's still a question, honestly. Let's go back to urban, like what you mentioned. Resort is not an issue, honestly. But let's go back to urban. And urban, we know that urban air conditioning systems, which is touched on, relies a lot on the building itself. And the building has multi-usage. And who runs those multi-usage air conditioning systems? You share among your retail, your commercials, and then your high-end hotels. So would that change? That's why I bring back to just now what I said, the resetting of the business investment model here in your retail space and your commercial space. Would that change the whole real estate investment model? The answer may be yes. But are we now saying that we should do it now for all new projects going forward?
It's too early.
Well, if you have the luxury of time, I would, as investors, would drag this out to see what happens. But of course, a lot of projects are really in the development stage where it's going to produce something or you have to carry on with certain things. But fortunately or unfortunately, there's no standards being issued out on CapEx or on standards like that. It's only a proactive action by the individual owners to put in something like that, and that varies in terms of level of intensity.
It looks like a trial and error period where we should be all very open our eyes and ears and interact with the guest and see the best practices that are successful, and wait to see the dust settling down a bit, and to have a better vision and a better insight on the impacts of the COVID-19 on the development model. Maybe a final word for you, Wilmaine, regarding the challenges of urban hotels with the COVID-19.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the challenges we touched on a lot of things already, which I'm not going to repeat. But I think there's an additional challenge which we should also not underestimate, is on the funding and on the financing, which obviously is one definitely to take into consideration. And I think that may become a bit more challenging over the coming months. We already start to see it. So depending on owner profile, yeah, lending may become more difficult. There's still, I mean, bank financing available, but it will become more challenging. I think the banks obviously are going to look with caution at the industry, even though the long-term fundamentals may be good, at least for the short-term foreseeable future. We cannot use the same ratios in our modeling either, and if an investor is looking at that, that's one to take into account. I like what you said earlier, Gabrielle, is also, I think, for me, this is such an unprecedented period on all fronts, whether it's operations, development, from all angles, right? So I think we are learning day after day as we go through, and let's take all the good experiences and the best practices and leverage those across the industry. Even I would say, obviously, we do it within our respective companies. We used a lot of the learnings from China, where the pandemic hit earlier. We used it in Europe, but I think we can learn a lot as an industry. And I also tend to think that there will be innovation out of this, because we will be forced to innovate and to rethink, and we cannot rely on the old models and the old ways of working. So it will push all of us to a certain extent to innovate and to think differently, which I'm sure some good things will come out of it as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we addressed the new normal, like what my panelists have said. Is there a change in human lifestyle? Yes, there will be a change, but the desire for travel, the desire to enjoy a lifestyle will never change unless the human's perspective has changed totally. That will not change. If it's safe to travel, everyone wants to travel. Yeah, that will never change. So we will not compromise at this moment on the safety aspect of our guests. We have to do whatever we can to ensure that they are saved. But like we all are learning about this pandemic on a daily basis, there's never 100% saved. Asymptomatic is the one of the biggest issues that all governments around the world is facing. No symptoms at all, but no tests have negative. But then within the next 2 weeks or a month, things happens. So that is always at the back of our mind. But does that mean it stops us from doing anything? No, we need to stay positive. This industry needs to stay positive, because it is for the industry and for people that need really an out to really give them some time break at this moment. But we will definitely no compromise on what we can do at this moment.
Well, thank you, both of you. We have run of time. In fact, we have added some time. If it was my choice, I would continue for the next few hours discussing with you. But I believe that you have given our viewers enough insight for them to reach out to you regarding their discussions, and you will be well introduced and your contact details within the MIPIM. So I leave it to our viewers to reach out to you and interact with you. I would like just to conclude by saying that our industry, which is the hospitality industry, is definitely bears its own name. It's hospitality. That means the art of welcoming others. And it's an industry of hope. And it's an industry of promoting encounters between people and promoting peace. So, of course, as it's a key aspiration of humans, I think that we will adapt. I share with you that we will, and we will change. We will be agile. We will change, and the new development models will integrate and are already integrating, I think, many lessons from the COVID. And I hope that we'll have the chance to discuss this again in a few months, hopefully face to face.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And
God bless.
all the best, and looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.